Good morning. Welcome to you all. We are here in the lovely home of Catherine Downer Neal today, and she has graciously consented to be our guest. This is our first program for Oceans of Possibilities, our summer adult programming, and we are just delighted. Catherine is going to share. Catherine is 92 years old, and she has just led such a wonderful, and she is still such a vital person. We are just so happy that she consented to share some of her life with us today, and so that's what we're going to be doing this morning. So thank you, Catherine, for being our guest.
I'm a little nervous about it. But
well, that's all right. You're doing great. Catherine is going to begin sharing with those beginning years. Catherine, I'll give it.
This is about the earliest memory I have, and except, and I don't know if I remember it or I was just told it, but I wore this dress when I was mascot for the Lylesville High School class of 1933. And my memory is of sitting in a chair in the, my mother made this dress, and my hair is all curled in long curls. That's the way she did it. And I almost fell off the stage. I went to sleep. And I remember my mother coming and picking me up, getting me out of the chair, you know. But those are my earliest memories, that I have oodles of things that she made. And she was a great influence in my life, because I couldn't have done any of the school, because she finally quit her job, came stay with the kids during the week when I transferred to Pembroke. But yeah, my mom was pretty special.
Absolutely, yes, we can see that. And now, if we could share some of the things from your high school years, Catherine. And
well, all the way through school, I loved school, and I always wanted to be a teacher, and finally worked out. But I worked hard, and I loved it. And when I was in high school, I was editor of the Annual, and I was valedictorian of my class. I was a cheerleader. We played, and I played basketball too. We played basketball, the girls did, and then we cheered the boys. But my cousin Martha Down was also a cheerleader, and I have a picture of, and Aaron Henson, you remember him?
yes, absolutely.
And John Bacon. And they had my letter, and I was in Beta Club, and I remember being valedictorian in my class, and my dad had been sick, and he couldn't go because he was not well enough, and then he died in June of the year I graduated in May. And so then I went off to Pfeiffer and had another.
You got married?
I went to Pfeiffer, and I had to major in business because I knew I didn't have any funds to go 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I worked for B.B. Hedrick in a very modern office for Anson County at the time. And after I worked also where the library is now, in Blaylock Motor Sales.
Oh, okay.
And I remember standing in there watching them move the old Masonic building down the hill. We watched that happen.
Wow.
And after that, I had an opportunity to teach typing and shorthand at Lylesville School under a special contract. It was a tuition kind of thing, because they didn't supply the teacher for that.
Right.
And I worked, I got, in the meantime, all that right out of Pfeiffer. John and I were building a house before we got married. And it's a little house my sister lived in up on the highway. We sold it to her. And I remember being pregnant, and the fumes from the cafeteria coming up into my classroom. And how sick I was. But my mother, after my dad died, moved to Blewett's and ran the boarding house. There were no motels for people that came from New York and Pennsylvania to work at the power plant.
Mm-hmm.
So she moved in November after I went to Pfeiffer. And then John and I got married in 1950, and our first child was born in 1953. And within 5 years, we had 4 kids. And when Mother was at the boarding house, Carolina Power and Light decided they were going to do away with the houses. But my sister was still in college, and so in order for her to be able to stay there, we moved in as boarders, and we stayed for until 1968. So we stayed a long time from 1954 to 68. And then we had to, of course, get out of there. But while we lived at Blewett's, Julie, our youngest one, was starting first grade. And we knew that we were going to both have to work with 4 children. And I wanted to be at home when the children were, so we decided that to go back to school. And so I started back at Wingate, and there were only 5 married women in the school, but I fit right in. The kids accepted me. I don't know if they took me as a second mother or not, but we had a good time. And it was written up in the Carolina Parent Life magazine, and I have a newspaper clipping of that. And my first year teaching after Wingate, I transferred to Pembroke, and then it was just Pembroke college. It was not the university, but I graduated the year before it became the university. And at Wingate, even though I just went one summer and 2 semesters, I was not going for graduation, but told me I had to because I was wearing the gold thing, you know. And then, I hate to tell you this, sounds like I'm bragging, I'm not. But at Pembroke, I was not going back for that either, because I was a day student, and no, you've got to come. And I got there, and then I found out why. I was only summa cum laude on the program. And after that, I did an interim job of 4th graders at Ansonville. And then the reason I did that, when I got through that, there were no business places open. And I left one thing out. When Julie was about 3, I taught typing classes at the first one at what was then Hampson Tech.
Okay.
I even taught my mother typing. I taught a morning class and a nighttime class. But my first, the people in Louisville had been very supportive, and all the way through, Miss John Spencer, my 3rd grade teacher, was forever sending me $20 bills for gas money. So I had a lot of support.
Yes.
But when it came time for me to go to work, the only job available at Louisville would have been teaching my youngest son. And I didn't want to put him through that. And I didn't want to put myself through that either, my first year.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to work in Rockingham at L.J. Bell School. And then we moved over to what was Leek Street. And I taught there until the year before they moved into Washington Street School. After that, after I left teaching 5th grade, which I loved it because the children were old enough you can talk one-on-one and had a little bit of respect left for adults. But I loved all the things I did at Pembroke. I could practice on Julie with, so it was a good experience. And then after I retired, so to speak, I served on several boards. Over here, it was the Historical Society Board and the Arts Council, and I taught some GED classes at Bonsall for South Piedmont, or it wasn't South Piedmont then. But while I was in Rockingham, no, that was partly after we moved back over here in 1975. We bought a house in Rockingham, and it was right behind where the library is now. That was the Winn-Dixie store at that time. And we had a house right behind there. We loved it. It was like a big old New England farmhouse. But we found that John and his buddy, who lived across there, it's not Bill, it was Bill Wall's brother, Steve, put a dam across the creek to put their fish in when they catch fish. And while the bulldozer was moving stuff, they found this one little spot. It was 2.5 acres, and it belonged to the Bradley Wall family. And we went flying to the beach to get Miss Bradley Wall to sell us 2.5 acres. And we had bought the house that we tore down was the old John Wall house, and I think they called it Riverview. I think that's what Betty Lane Davidson grew up in that house, and Marjorie Lyles, and my friend Lucy did. And of course, when you turned in, one of Mr. John's daughters was Miss Martha Bacon, and she lived in that White House there. And one of them, well, anyway, all this is Bacon's and Walls. There's one, Catherine Wyatt is at the beginning of the road, and I'm at the bottom, so we share the road. And through the years, I've tried a lot of things. I'm prone to try a lot.
Yeah, so how many years did you teach?
21.
Catherine? 21 years, okay.
But I was only 57. That's when I quit.
How about that?
But I taught typing and shorthand at Lylesville too, so, but I didn't get state credit for it because it was tuition basis. But I did 5 plays at Richmond Community Theater, and I was on the board. I was in Richmond County, Richmond, it was a life, it was a counseling program over there, and I was in Delta Kappa Gamma. When John got real sick, I resigned from that. That was an honorary thing too. And while I was teaching, I was elected Teacher of the Year 1 year, and I just don't know what I'll tell you.
That is awesome. And so with having your 4 children and teaching and all this, you found time to quilt and to do all this
and
other
not
stuff.
only that, after I quit, I worked part-time in a Sharp and Buckner's law office on Fridays. And when I started doing pottery, they would give us grades then. They don't do that now because we can take, but anyway, I had to take a prerequisite class, and it met on the day I was working for them. So I said, I'm gonna have to retire so I can get out of the class.
Right.
So I did.
Yes.
That was a good experience. I enjoyed it.
And so the quilting, you're
The first thing on my bucket list after I quit teaching was to make baskets.
okay.
And I got baskets scattered all over the house.
Okay.
And then I did watercolors, and I got watercolors all over the house that I did.
We're going to get some
And then
photos of those.
what was next? Meantime, I was doing plays, and the kids were getting married and having children, and then John retired in 85, I think, 84, 85, and we went on several trips. Went to Europe twice, and actually 3 times.
Awesome.
But then I've always knitted, and the first thing I knitted was that sweater. That sweater I made in 1987. That's when I retired. It's just a plain old sweater, but it's wool.
It's beautiful.
And I made dish rags, and I've made smock dresses for granddaughters, and but my most favorite, I've done a lot of stuff, but my most favorite thing is pottery. There's nothing like squeezing mud, especially when you need to be calmed down.
Absolutely.
It's just really good.
Absolutely.
And if you mess up a pot, it becomes a spoon rest.
Okay.
I've done.
That's
I've had. Now, when I do pottery, it's mostly when people tell me they want something, because I've made dishes I ate off of, and I got tired of them. And this past semester, I made 4 new plates just for me.
All right.
So, and I made pasta bowls for my grandchildren, and 2 sets of dishes for my grandchildren, and I've made soup mugs for several people, and just, I'm not the arty one. My daughter's the arty one.
Well, you could have fooled me.
She has made some gorgeous stuff,
Oh.
but she thinks outside the box. But most of what I make is functional. I made bacon cookers and cornbread cookers and all sorts of stuff.
Okay. And we're going to take a look now at some of the pottery that Catherine has done. So.
I started this when I was in my 60s, but I did do that painting over there with no instruction. On the top, that little one, we put the kids in the boat and go up the river on the lake and camp for a week. That was our vacation. And when I was teaching hiking up at Ansonville, John would take me in and pick up a 5-gallon thing of water, and he'd stay with the kids and There are two more that I did this.
And so did you take classes to do
I
this?
did this, but all this other I did.
You did it on your own.
Like the
Okay.
picture of the house that blew it.
Mhm.
That's done with poster paint. I did it as a project when I was at Pembroke.
Oh, right. Well, that is beautiful.
And these two I did in class, and I have the pots, this one and this one.
Oh.
And I used the little blue flowers around that plate off of another little thing I had. And I did have that plate, but I gave it to somebody who was collecting them, so I didn't do that one. And then anyway,
Well, that's
I
wonderful.
did that one, after we moved here, we had a garden up in the houses, and the pottery. I did these, and these are two of the latest things I've done.
So how did you get involved with the pottery, Catherine?
I always wanted to try it, and there was a lady, I met a lady in Rockingham, and told, anyway, a friend and I went up and signed up for a class, and we went, and I think we started in 2003, I think. And she said, well, I got all the pottery I need, so she quit. And I kept going, and then I had to quit when John got
So did you do all of these pieces?
I did this one, and this was an old one, but John III, my son, was working for the Arts Council, doing some work for them. And he said, Mom, nobody's turning any pottery for senior games. So I said, well, take that. It was the only one turned in, so I got to go for that one that I didn't plan to. But I made, this is mostly raccoon, and I've done that, and I did these three plates, and this picture,
I love.
and then I did these three plates.
Yeah, so tell
This one represents, that was when they told us what to make, like 15 candlesticks or 15 bowls. And it was supposed to represent something of nature. And this represents the Petey River, where we live. And these little rocks that you find all along there, even the, arrowhead. And this represents the sandy beach. There's an island right up there it's shallow water. And we had a pontoon down here. And we would tie it up down here, and we'd go up there and let the grandchildren play. And there was a sandy beach. And every time we'd go out, we'd see a flat rock, we'd bring it back, and all these stepping stones came out of the river.
All right, that's
Okay.
marvelous.
So, and
this one,
this one,
I love that.
it's got black here and something we call Orange Street. And then I put a little gold in here, and that's the way it turned out. And I can see the mountains, and I can see sand dunes and the ocean. So it's just, it appeals to me. And these down here, this one doesn't show up, but this is one of the earliest ones I did. And I painted, there's somebody fishing right there. But it's too dark.
Beautiful.
It's too dark. And then I have these little Christmassy things for seasonal stuff, like these plates right here.
Yeah.
And last year I made lots of little ornaments like that with candles and holly and stuff on them.
Wonderful. And your pottery classes are what, once a week?
Thursdays, and I do have my own baskets. There are two under that pew up there, that little bench up there. But this is one. I was determined to have one every week, and so this big egg basket's not, it's good for magazines and stuff.
But it's
and
beautiful. It's beautiful, absolutely.
But I even went to a class up at the Indian Museum in Ellerby and made one of those little pine needle coasters.
Oh, okay.
I won't ever do that again, though. That wasn't for me. And I tried cross stitching, I don't like it. I've tried needlepoint, I don't like that either. But I have refinished my share of furniture and done all that kind of stuff.
And you have some beautiful, absolutely beautiful pieces too. I love the table over there.
Well, the table was the first piece of furniture I bought when we got married. I bought it, where Bill Hightower's store used to be down there. I don't think it was his then, but there was, when I was working at Blake Hawk's Red Library, I went down there and it paid $10 for it. It had spot where somebody put a hot pot on it, and I refinished it. And of course, put polyurethane on both of them so that
It's beautiful.
But I think when somebody, and these little things I made, some of these, I don't know where I can get one of them. I did not make that. My first teacher made that. But I've got some, most of these are whistles, and I don't know if I can make it whistle or not. But, let's see if I can. That one won't go. It's got that dust in it. McGinney, I don't know if it'll do or not. But most of these are whistles.
Okay.
And then other people have carved these things for John. But, and my aunt painted that rock. That's my mother going to milk the cow.
All right.
As they were growing up. And the troll is mine. I did to him too.
Now, did you do those, Catherine?
No, you'll never guess who did that one.
Who?
James Price.
James Price. Okay.
One of his first ones.
That is.
And that was my compost pot I had over there. And one of the grandchildren broke the lid, so I just put it up there. And of course, the house itself, I did draw the plans for it, and the kitchen was not exactly, we left the brick masons here and they didn't do quite, I did this too, I painted tiles on the, and they were fire screen.
That is gorgeous.
But the idiot that did it, put the things on there that I have to tie it to the damper to keep it from falling over. But in the lamp over here, I did this lamp.
How long have you been gardening?
Oh, usually we had one down in the bottom towards the river. But I can't handle that anymore. It's too much. So this out here I started last year, and I said the tomatoes I grew in those grow boxes would be worth at least $10 a piece because boxes cost so much.
But I love the pots. That is really
And these-
nice and such a wonderful idea.
Two
for
of
people
these
to-
I can water at the bottom like that. And these two grow boxes have that pipe in it, and I have to just fill up a reservoir under there. And
Oh, okay. Well, that's
But
wonderful.
I'm growing
too.
more vines than anything else. I've got some zucchini in here and some little yellow squash.
But they're looking so healthy, and this is so good today because the food prices are soaring, so it's wonderful to be able to grow your own stuff and it tastes so
And I've
much
got
really
little
good.
tomatoes. I'm scared squirrels are going to get
Oh,
them.
yes, look at
Those little
those.
cherry tomatoes. I love them. What about green beans out here too?
Green beans.
Don't back off about that now. Last year I had running beans in this bed, and the deer would reach across and grab the beans. So this year I put, if you see all these blue ribbons hanging here, somebody told me that deer are supposed to be colorblind, I think, but that deer don't like blue. But see my beans, they're running up in tomato cages.
Yes, that is wonderful.
So I'll try it, like I said, anything once.
Yes.
Hydrangea blossom. And then I had an old-timey one, and it was so heavy with the blooms, it fell over and broke.
It's so beautiful out
And
here.
see that gardenia bush back there, over there, it's just falling over. It's so full of blossoms.
Yes, that is
And I got two more out here that were killed. They hurt with the frost. Flower pots with the saucer on them, and you don't have to make a separate.
I love that.
And that is a wine cooler with a little tray under it. You freeze the wine cooler and chill your wine,
beautiful, Caroline?
and you put your wine in it, and it keeps it
Great.
nice and cold.
Yes.
And spoon rest, I keep spoon rest.
And this is so colorful. How do you get the color?
That is that's the hardest part of it, to decide, because you never know until you take it out what you're gonna have. But that's the hardest thing to do. And I've made burial urns. anyway,
It's
it's
so
just a
nice.
lot of fun.
Yes.
And that was made from molds. I made I got my wheel and a small kiln downstairs
Okay.
that I can do stuff with.
So
Geothermal heat. Well, it's not actually geothermal, it's water to air.
okay.
There are two 5-foot deep ditches that go down the hill and over, and it circulates water that comes through and it heats and cools the house.
Wow. And that
John insisted that he wasn't going to have a heat pump making noise when he was out on deck.
there you go. Makes perfect sense to me.
I just took that deep quilt off, it got too hot. But that's the first watercolor I ever did. In a class. A friend had given me that little flower pot, that's ditch daisies, in the fall with all the little yellow daisies. See, these are all my yearbooks. And that's, when I was working in Mr. Bell's office, I cleaned out the closet and I found the makeup pieces for the annual were still there. And so I was cleaning them out, they were going to be thrown away. So I brought them all home and
Oh,
I got all the pictures that were in there.
and that's great too. This is a beautiful room. These are baskets that you did as well.
Not that one.
Okay.
And that one came from Africa. A friend brought me.
Okay.
But that one's the first one I ever made without going to a class. And I've given away.
So you just figured it out on your own?
Have you ever seen the Reader's Digest book that has how to do all this stuff? It shows you how to knit, how to do needlework, how to do this and that and the other. I had a book that showed me how to do it. So
Wow.
And that over there, that quilt block, in Rockingham, somebody found a bundle of quilt blocks in their attic, but that one came from, let's see, John's grandmother, Frances Chisholm Lyles, did that one, and there were several others. Neal Winfrey. There, too. But I did that one time, and I did some of this. I went to where they used acid on metal. I've got a tray in there on that tea cart. Tell you about.
Oh, beautiful.
But look, it's made out of such dark fabric. But they used what they had. And that's a picture of my mother. She made quilts for all 9 of her grandchildren.
Oh,
I wasn't that smart, I just made Afghans.
isn't that, man, that is something. So you did the Afghans too. You're just...
Well, I haven't done baskets in a while. This is my passion now.
Hey.
Oh, one more thing I got to show you. One's collard plants, and they have huge leaves. And so I made a set of these. I thought the cookouts had to be perfect.
Oh, perfect.
Collard leaves.
yes.
Then I made a whole set of dishes. I had 10 plates, and I had the little salad plates. And somebody even made a little collard plant.
Oh, that is neat.
And the latest ones were these right here. I just made these.
Oh, yes.
I like them.
Beautiful.
I love them. I love them.
And I made a lot of little ones, the pies, bowls, and mugs, soup mugs. And as you can see, I've never put any finish on these cabinets.
But
There
they're
was
beautiful.
not enough of this old wood
gorgeous.
to build the cabinets out of, so we used what's on the outside of the house, that rough plywood, and just trimmed them out. The man that did it lived in the house, but this house is where John grew up.
Ooh.
I noticed that a while ago.
But he just had the guy that did it just had a picture of the house that didn't show, it was on an angle, but there were 2 front doors in this house. And the old kitchen that was out, and after the kitchen left, they added that on, had the kitchen and dining room in there. And it burned.
Where was it?
It was all on was Haley's Ferry Road down. You could go down 145 and turn to the left through the peach orchard, and this was down top of the hill above the rock house where Stevens
Mm-hmm.
redoing. And I grew up not thinking too much of myself. I always trying too hard. Middle child syndrome. Try too hard. You know what the old is, the youngest. So, I think it was good that we moved to Rockingham, because growing up in a small town like Lawsville, people already know what they think you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to Rockingham, you're forced to make new contacts and make new friends and put yourself out there. You can't rely on, well, my mama knows your mama. In some cases that's good. I think when the schools were smaller and everybody knew everybody, it was a safety catch for all kids growing up. Because you knew if you stepped out of line, it wouldn't be long before your parents knew about it, so you better behave yourself.
So what's next on your bucket list?
I know.
I don't know, just to live my life and finish it out with a big bang.
Okay. Well, what advice would you give to others who have a long bucket list and haven't started yet?
Decide what you really want to do and go for it. I didn't tell you that I hiked 13 miles of Appalachian Trail when I was 63 either, did I?
No.
I did that too.
Wow.
And don't be afraid to try something new. You might do it, not do it. I think the fault with a lot of us, and I'm sort of that way, if you can't do it right first time, you give up. But with pottery, you cannot do that. You would have a lot of them that go like that. But if you're trying to throw. Now, hand building, that's a different ball game. But just decide what you like to do. Something that gives you pleasure and that you can give other people pleasure with. I give away half of what I make, more than half. The kids will say, Grandma made me so and so. But and I do. And most pottery, the little things I can put in the microwave,
Mm-hmm.
the dishwasher safe, and if you put it in a cold oven, just remember that if somebody gives you a pottery pie plate, don't ever start it in a preheated oven, because the pottery has to heat up. And I made a mistake. I didn't know that. And somebody gave me a nice pie plate, and I made a pie, and I stuck it in a preheated oven. But after,
That's good advice. Thank
yeah, just remember to don't preheat it when you.
And we can't thank you enough for being our guest today.
Well,
and it's just been such a pleasure just to come in and be amongst
Well, I
all
was going to offer
these
you a
things that you
glass of
created.
tea.
Well,
It's hot. Would you like one? I'll get you one.
okay, but all right, we'll just we'll sign off with the people today, and I'll tell Catherine that when I grow up, I want to be just like her. She is an inspiring lady. I tell you that, and
All of it goes to the God and to my family. I
absolutely,
couldn't have done it without their support.
absolutely.
My children, and my husband, my mother.
So important. And we hope that you have enjoyed this program today, and I hope that it motivates you to get out there and do something that you love, because I can tell that Catherine has a passion for so many things.
Oh,
But
yeah.
thank you for joining us today, and we'll look forward to the next time.